What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Power Platform TV. Today, we're going to take a look at a new preview feature, and it's all about visualizing your data. So, data that you have in views in your Power Apps, we're going to go and unlock that data using the power of Power BI. And it's really, really easy to turn this feature on. And what we're going to do, we're going to turn this on in an environment here. We're going to go through how to use it, and we'll see exactly how it unlocks your data and what we can do with it. All right, so let's dive right into it. So I'm on the Microsoft documentation site here at this URL, and we can see here the link talks about how to enable this feature. So if I scroll down, basically what we're going to do is we're going to jump into a solution where we have our model-driven app, and we're going to go ahead and turn this feature on. All right, and then we're going to basically see it come alive. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to head over to the Power Apps Maker at make.powerapps.com, and I'm going to click on Solutions down here, and I'm going to create a new solution, and I'm going to call this Sales, and I'm going to select a publisher here and click Create. So you'll probably have a solution potentially already created that has your model-driven app. What I'm going to do in this example is I'm going to turn this on for the Sales Hub app. Okay, so we'll be able to see this working in the Sales Hub app. So I'm going to jump into my solution here, and then I'm going to do an Add Existing and go to Apps, select a model-driven app, and this is going to give me a list of all the model-driven apps in my environment. And this one down here is Sales Hub. I'm just going to go and click Add here. One thing to note, it looks like there's no environment level setting yet for this feature, so it's on an app-by-app basis, but potentially in the future maybe they'll come out with an environment level setting. So I have the app set here. I'm just going to go into this and basically edit this, right? So I'm just going to go and edit in a new tab here. It's going to open up the app in edit mode in this tab, and we'll just wait for that to load here. And you can see here the settings, right? So this settings button is the one we want. I'm going to go ahead and click this, and it brings us to the settings of the app. And here I click on features, and this is really cool. You should come in here every now and then, check it out, see what new features have been enabled, and you also have this upcoming tab here as well for some upcoming features that are not yet in the features tab, right? So the one we want here is this one: enable Power BI quick report visualization on a table. And we can see here it says end users can visualize the data on the table's view page with Power BI quick reports, and requires the TDS endpoint to be enabled. Okay, so I'm going to flip this to yes, and let's go ahead and click Save here. And let's go over and jump into the Admin Center and just make sure that our TDS endpoint's enabled as well. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go over here to Environments and going to select my environment. And then over here, I'm going to click on Settings here. And now if we search for TDS, it's Enable TDS Endpoint. That's the feature we want. And if I just scroll down here on the right, we can see here it is. TDS Endpoint enables connecting from Power BI using tabular data stream TDS protocol, right? And so this is turned on here, so you'll need to enable that if you don't have that turned on. Okay, so those are the two steps. So we have those two steps set. We have that saved. And before we do anything, what I'm going to do, let's just go and jump into this environment to the Sales app, and we'll take a look at it, and we're going to see the before situation where it's not enabled, right? So I'm going to go to a view here, and this is the customer account. So we'll just give that a second. And so this is the view of my active accounts. And here in the toolbar, we don't see, this is what we see, right? So we don't see anything Power BI related just yet. We see the usual kind of stuff. We can create new records, delete, refresh, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to see in a second here a new button appearing in this toolbar. So I'm going to go back over to the solution to here actually, and let's X there. And so I'm just going to publish this, and what that's doing is that's publishing the setting that we just enabled back over here on the left in settings. Okay, so that's going to make that setting take effect, and that's going to publish that to our model-driven app here, our Sales Hub app. Okay. All right, so that's gone ahead and published. So now let's go back over to the model-driven app, and over here we're just going to refresh this and keep an eye on the toolbar here. And sometimes it takes a couple of refreshes, but let's see in this case here. All right, didn't work the first time. Let's go ahead and try again, second time. All right, there it is. So this is the button here, the new button, visualize this view. Okay, and it says visualize this view in Power BI. And, if you know Power BI, you know that there's the Power BI service, and that's separate from Dynamics. And but this here is going to open up the visualization inside of Dynamics. All right, so let's go ahead and click on this and see what happens. So we click on it, and we can see here that it's opened this Power BI modal, right? This pop-up here, and we're still inside of Dynamics. It's just basically overlaying it here. And okay, that's loaded. So we could see here that it's basically created some visuals, and it's kind of done that by itself, right? So we didn't tell it that we wanted these particular fields, in this particular order, but it's gone ahead behind the scenes and it's kind of figured out, okay, this is some information that the user would potentially want to see as a visualization, right? And, keep in mind, this is all about insights. So it's all about unlocking your data. So as a user, you can have different perspectives, different insights into the data. So maybe it'll tell you something that you previously didn't know before, right? Maybe there's a particular trend that's going on in your data that maybe it's harder to figure out if you're looking at numbers, but these visualizations kind of unlock that, right? So basically, this is what it's kind of trying to achieve in the background, and it's using some logic, and this is what we get. So we could see here this chart here on the right is probably the best one to start with because it's actually the only one that's given us data, interestingly. And we could see here this is the count of my active accounts by address city, right? So we could see here on the right this is actually the filters and the fields that we get to play with here. And we can actually change this if we want to. So there is a bit of flexibility here in terms of, the user interacting with these visualizations and maybe making it a little bit more relevant for themselves and playing around with how it looks and how it's presented and that kind of thing, right? So we can see here, this is address one city. And if I click on this, we get the options here to not summarize it or do counts, right? And then here we have a hierarchical data, my active accounts field. Okay, so those two fields here are on this visual, and we could see here, for example, that Redmond has a count of 3. So I have 3 accounts in Redmond, and then I have 1 for each of these in Dallas, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at some other data here. So I'm going to close this. And let's go ahead and try this on opportunities here. So I'm going to click on opportunities, and I'm going to change this view here to be all opportunities. All right. So now I have 97 opportunities showing in my view. And remember, the view here is important because this is where it's getting the fields to display in the Power BI reports, right? So we can see here, just as an example, we have the topic column field here. We have potential customer, email address, the status. That's a good one. So we can kind of slice and dice if we want and see the won versus the lost versus the open opportunities. We have the actual close date here if we wanted to do some kind of analysis with the dates. We have the actual revenue, so we can see the higher value opportunities that we have open. We also have the estimated revenue, the estimated close date, the rating, so how we're rating these opportunities, and the probability, right? Probability of closing these opportunities. So I'm going to go and click on visualize this view again, and let's see what the Power BI service does with this in the background. And here we have some visualizations that it's created. So we can see here, for example, we have going on the left here, we have the sum of the estimated value by opportunity rating code name. So we're saying basically the hot opportunities have an estimated value of 102 million. The warm ones have an estimated value of 98 million. The cold ones have an estimated value of 2 million, right? So this is kind of giving us a good picture here. It's basically saying that the opportunities that we think are probably going to close are actually the higher value opportunities anyway. And we have this cold one here that's worth 2 million. So we may not want to even really waste our time with that, so to speak, right? So that's what that's showing there. We also have a little bit of text here at the bottom that's kind of helpful. So this kind of says here, at 101 million, the hot has the highest sum of estimated value and was 4,000 odd percent higher than cold, right? So a much higher chance of closing, we're saying. And then if we scroll down a little bit here, we have some other information that it's giving us. Hot accounted for 50% of the sum of estimated value. Okay, so half our opportunities out there have a hot status, which is good. And then there's some other information here. So it's just basically, analyzing the data itself and then surfacing insights so that the user may decide that these insights are useful or not, right? Here we have the sum of the actual value by opportunity rating code name. So this is basically like this one. It's very similar, but it's the actual value here. And then this one here is the sum of the close probability by the opportunity rating code name. Okay, so that's all good. Now let's say that we want to customize this, right? So, there's a lot of stuff here around these rating code names, but what if we wanted to change, like, let's say we wanted to change this visualization here, right? So we have this little icon, personalize this visual. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And one of the things we can do here, we can change the visualization type. So let's say that we didn't like the clustered bar chart. If you're familiar with Power BI Desktop and Service, you'll notice these different types of charts that are available. So you could do a stacked bar chart, a stacked column chart, clustered charts as well. We can do here area charts. These are different area charts here, line charts, pie charts, donut. There's, all the usual type of stuff, right? And, you got the matrix visualization there as well, key influences. So all of this stuff that's very common in Power BI. So let's do something really simple. I'm going to change this to a pie chart. And we can see automatically in the background, it's gone ahead and changed it, right? And then we can, if we wanted to change these values here, so let's say instead of estimated value, I wanted actual value, right? I could just go and change it like this, and straight away it's gone ahead and changed that, right? We can add more fields here, more detail fields, and do some other stuff with this. Let's say, for example, I wanted to add back in the estimated value, then it's going to do this. This doesn't really make a lot of sense. Let's say I wanted to do the close probability, for example. If I click on this, then now it's breaking that down there additionally, right? What else? So this is how we kind of personalize this. So if I X out of this now, then that's sticking there. So that's really very useful. So now let's go ahead and look at the top here. So we have this toolbar and we have a save button and we have show data and learn more, right? So let's start with save. So if I click on save, we can see here, name your Power BI file, right? So I'm just going to call this, let's say, all opportunities, and save to a workspace. And you can see here I only have my workspace selectable. So your workspace is where your data lives. I'm going to go ahead and click continue here, and we'll see here that it's actually saving this. And we're going to take a look at this in a second, right? So we have this, open the file in Power BI to view, edit, and get shareable links. So if I click on this now, it's taking me over to the Power BI service, and this is my workspace over here. So again, if you're familiar with Power BI, there's the concept of these workspaces. And just go ahead and click here. We could see that this report now has actually been saved to my workspace. And it's just giving me some prompts here because this is the first time I'm opening this. But if I just go through here, um, so basically now we're in the Power BI service and we have this report. Okay, so this wasn't there before, but now we get it here and we can access it at any time, right? So anytime we want to come into the Power BI service, we'll have this here and we'll be able to go in here and see our data. And so that's kind of useful as well, right? So you can obviously play around with it on this side instead of on the Dynamics 365 or the the Power App side. That's kind of up to you, I think it looks like, right? So I'm going to X out of this, and looks like that's taken me right out of here. So I'm just going to go back into it, and then we'll keep talking about some of the other features here. All right, so we're back in here now. And one of the things you'll notice straight away is that this is no longer a pie chart, right? So it looks like this is not actually saving it in terms of the Dynamics 365 sessions. So my guess is they'll probably add that feature at some point in the future. Remember, this is preview and this is kind of just starting now, right? So that's one thing to note there. Now, if we go back up here, we have the show data table. And if I click on this, we see here that now at the bottom we get this data table of all of our records, right? So if I scroll down here, we'll take a look and we just see we have all of these opportunities, right? Let's go ahead and see what happens if I select one of these. So if I select the second one, then this is doing the cross highlight filtering here, and we can see that it's just kind of filtered out the other visualizations there, right? There's nothing particularly useful here. We could just see a very slight line here because this is the warm status. You could kind of see it over here as well. But yeah, that's all that's doing there. And by the way, if you are unfamiliar with how that works, this is a feature of Power BI where, if I selected this hot one here, then you can see it's kind of grayed out the other areas here, right? And so only hot is showing as selected in each of these visuals. And the useful part is down here now in the opportunities, we get this this filter as well. So we can basically see from this third column here, these are all hot, right? So it's filtered out all of the hot opportunities because I selected it. If I clicked on warm, for example, we're going to see the bottom one change as well here, right? So it's just another way to filter out data. Then across the top here, we have these different measures here. So this is the sum of the estimated value, some of the actual value, some of the closed probability, some of the customer ID type. So it's just kind of trying to figure out in the background, what does the user want to see in terms of visuals? What kind of information would be relevant to the user? And it's just doing that in the background and presenting it to us. Some other things we can do here. Let's click on filters here, and we could see that we can add filters here. So let's say we wanted to do actual close date. We click on this, and we can see here that we have these ranges of filters here for the date. But I can also do this. I can do an advanced filtering, for example, and I can show where the date is, or where the date is like before, so I think something like before might be useful. So if I did, before this date here, well, let's do something a little earlier here. So if I go back over here and then so I want all of the data before this date. And here, if I click on apply filter, we're going to see that there was a slight change here, right? I'm just going to undo the warm filter here. But this was, but it's now filtering based on this date here, right? And then I can just go ahead and clear that if I want to. It's going to clear that on this side as well. So these are the types of filters that we can apply, and you can do that to all of these different fields here. And let's do one more thing here. So if I just minimize the filters, let's say I add actual value here, right? So if I click on actual value here, now this is going to redraw this. And now we get the actual value appearing and being used here on this side. So we could see here, for example, this is doing an estimated versus actual value. I think this is actually a good example of a kind of a good, interesting visualization here, because we could kind of, compare the, our actuals versus estimates, right? So you can go ahead and add these in on this side, and then it's going to go and redraw the visualizations and then maybe provide you with more interesting stuff, right? This one's good as well. This has an actual close date now, so we're seeing the dates, how they play out. We can see this is actual value now versus actual close date, and it's actually telling us that there was a lot of activity here a few years back, and then it's kind of dropped off a little bit, right? The opportunities have kind of dropped off a little bit, and if you zoom over this, it'll give you a little bit more contextual information as well. This one's the same thing with the actual value, and again, go back in here, personalize it, and change this, right? If you wanted this to be a stacked column chart, for example, you could do it like that. That's up to you if you know how you want to see that data presented. And one more thing here is you can zoom in here as well. So if you wanted to make this a little bit easier to read, for example, you could zoom in like this, and then you can click back on fit to page, and this is going to set that back to the original dimensions. Okay, let's go ahead and X out of this. And one other thing I want to show you real quick is, like I said, it's pulling it the data from here, from the view. So what happens if we were to go and edit these columns, right? So if I go and add a new column here, let's say budget amount, right? Let's see if we have some information in the budget amount. I'm going to go with that one and click close and apply. And let's see. So this is great. We do have some budget amount data here. So now if I click on visualize this view, we should see that budget amount field coming through. And so we can see here that that's opened and it's picked up our new budget amount field, right? So it's using it in a couple of these visuals here. This one is the sum of the budget amount versus the opportunity rating here. So we can see here that there's $164 million worth of budget for the warm opportunities, right? So that's what that's telling us, and it gives us that information straight away. And if we click on these three dots here, there's some other things here that it's kind of useful as well. So the export data. So if I go and click on this, so now it's going to ask us if we want summarized data or underlying data. And in this case, we only get the option for summarized data. It says export the summarized data used to create your visual. So we have that. We can select the format here, either CSV or Excel. Let's go ahead and export it, and then we'll go and take a look at it. So there it is. Let's open it. And if we go and take a look at this here, we can see that it's done the summarized export here. And so this is just basically the amounts, right? So pretty straightforward there. Let's say we wanted to export the data table, for example. We can go and show data table, and that might be something that's maybe more meaningful rather than summarize. It's kind of up to you with your particular case here, but here we have the data table at the bottom, and if I go and export this data here, we can see actually it has data with the current layout, and then now we also get the summarized data. So we have the options here at this point, right? So let's go ahead and export this data. And if I go and open up this one, and we can see here that this is all of those fields, right? So this might be a little bit more meaningful if you're wanting to do things on the Excel side. Back over here, let's look at some other options. So we have show as a table. So if I wanted to see the data like this as a table, then it gives us the top visualization as well as the table view down here, okay? So that's what that does. Then we have the spotlight. If you click on spotlight, it's just gonna highlight just that visual if you wanna draw attention to it, right? So that's kind of useful. Let's uncheck that one. So back over here, we have Get Insights. I'm gonna come back to that one in a second. And then we have the sort axis here, right? So you can just change this if you wanna do ascending, descending, and how this is displayed here, right, and sorted. So those are the features here. Now, with the Get Insights, you'll need Power BI Pro. We can see here that it's actually not displaying any insights, and it's possible that it needs to have a little bit more time maybe to generate them. I'm not too sure, but or maybe it's just due to the preview factor. But if we click on this here, we can see that there's a few reasons why insights are not found. Basically, the data or the visuals aren't supported, or there's various other factors here. And if you want to read more about insights, you can go up here and learn more about them. And one final point here is users will only see the data that they have access to, okay? It's still in preview, so some mixed results, but definitely you can see the potential here, right? It's all within Dynamics. It's just so nice how it's embedded here. We didn't have to do anything. We didn't have to go into Power BI to create the reports, connect to the data source, create all these visualizations. You know, we can do that anyway. But this is provided for us out of the box. We are nowhere near the model. It's already done, right? So I think this will be really powerful. Hope you guys enjoyed.
So that's it, guys. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and of course check out my blog at carldesouza.com. Thank you.